What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. So when it comes to robot vacuums and more specifically robot vacuums that do real floor washing, there aren't that many options out there. So when it comes to robot vacuums, you can basically choose three types that wash your floors. The cheap ones typically have that wet cloth at the bottom and they just drag that all over your floor. Then you get the ones with the spinning brushes at the bottom. That one is definitely better, but it still spreads all the dirt on your floors. And the last option, and really the only option for real floor washing, are robot vacuums like the Swichbot S10 and the eufy S10 Pro right here. Because these ones have a very different mopping system. So these ones get a rolling brush at the bottom, and every time that spins, it actually gets cleaned inside the robot vacuum. So all the dirt stays inside the robot vacuum. So that's why these vacuums are the only vacuums that do real floor washing, because they don't spread that dirt throughout your house. So in today's video we are gonna find out which one is the best robot vacuum for floor washing, the eufy S10 Pro here or the Swichbot S10, because even though these ones have a similar mopping system, there are some big differences in between these two vacuums right here. Okay, so let's start with the most important part for these two robot vacuums, and of course that is that roller mop that we have at the bottom of each device. And if you look at the bottom of the eufy S10 Pro, you're gonna notice how much longer that roller mop is when compared to the roller mop that we have on the Swichbot S10. So of course, when the eufy S10 Pro goes over one area, it will be able to clean a much larger section at one time. So it will also clean faster than the Swichbot S10 because it goes over a larger area on one pass. Then if you look at the design of the eufy S10 Pro here, this one has a more square-like design. So the roller mop is actually much closer to the edge of the device here. So this one will be able to get much closer to those edges of the wall. Of course, that has a lot to do with the square design because it can go into corners easier. So this one will be able to get much closer to the wall when compared to the Swichbot S10. This one has a much larger space here between the edge of the actual robot vacuum and the edge of the roller mop. So this one is not going to be able to get as close to those wall edges as this one is able to. Another very important part for the roller mop here is the material used for the roller mop. So the Swichbot S10 is using a material that has much shorter fibers than the material that we have on the roller mop on the eufy S10 Pro. So the eufy S10 Pro can retain more water on that mop when compared to this one. The same kind of goes when they go over stains, because the roller mop on the eufy S10 Pro is wetter and it puts a lot of pressure on the floor. This one is able to clean stains much easier than the Swichbot S10. And if you do have the same stain and you have both vacuums going over the exact same stain, you will definitely notice that the eufy S10 Pro here does a much better job at cleaning those stains. So realistically, the roller mop design and performance from the eufy S10 Pro is totally superior to the design and the performance that we get from the Swichbot S10 here. So if you are looking for the robot vacuum that does the absolute best floor washing there is, well, look no further, because realistically there is no competition to the eufy S10 Pro. Definitely no competition from the Swichbot S10 that we have here. Next, we are moving on to obstacle avoidance, because obstacle avoidance is also very, very important for a robot vacuum. And you're probably wondering, why is obstacle avoidance so important on a robot vacuum? Well, let me explain why. So I've been using this robot vacuum for over 6 months as my main robot vacuum. First of all, because it does that amazing floor washing, but secondly, very important as well, the obstacle avoidance. I never ever have to clean the house before this goes on a cleaning cycle. So even if I'm not home and I start the cleaning cycle, I don't have to worry about anything, because I know this will actually avoid anything that there may be on the floor. So cables, small toys, or basically anything that I could have on the floor, this will avoid, so will not get stuck. So the eufy S10 Pro, it's using what they call the 3D matrix sight. This is basically an infrared stereo camera system that works in any lighting condition. So it doesn't matter if it's pitch black or you have plenty of light, this will be able to detect anything on the floor and will be able to avoid everything on the floor. So very important, because it will not get stuck. On the other hand, the Swichbot S10 here, it's using an RGB vision system. So this relies on light. If it doesn't have enough light, it's not gonna do as well. And compared to other robot vacuums, sure, it does better for obstacle avoidance, but in comparison with the eufy S1 Pro, with this one, I actually have to check the floor before I leave the house because it will get stuck on many things, mostly small things. This will get stuck. So that is why it's important to have really good obstacle avoidance, because when you're not home, you definitely don't want your robot vacuum to get stuck. And in between these two, the eufy S1 Pro is the definite winner for obstacle avoidance. Moving on to design, and well, I kind of touched on this earlier when we were talking about mopping, but the eufy S1 Pro has a more square design, so of course we'll be able to get closer to those edges, closer in those corners when compared to the Swichbot S10. But there is another difference here, and that is the height. You can clearly see the height difference. Let me get them one next to each other. You can clearly see the height difference on these two robot vacuums, and that means one thing: the eufy S1 Pro can actually get under a lot more furniture than this one. I've noticed here at home that the Swichbot S10 never goes under the couch, where this one actually goes under the couch every time it cleans. So of course the eufy S1 Pro, because it has a slimmer design, will be able to go under more furniture than this one, and not to mention will be able to clean those edges better, those corners better, and so on. Next we are talking about vacuuming performance, because of course that is also a very important factor for a robot vacuum. So the Swichbot S10 here has a suction power of 6500 PA, where the eufy S1 Pro has a higher suction power of 8000 PA. So whenever this one goes over an area that has a lot of stuff on the floor, we'll be able to pick up more things from the floor on the first run when compared to the Swichbot S10 that has a lower suction power. It also helps that we have two brushes on each side on the eufy S1 Pro, because those brushes kind of push all the dirt towards the main suction hole at the bottom of the vacuum, where the Swichbot S10 here only has one brush that kind of pushes all the dirt towards that suction hole in the center. As for that main brush at the bottom of each robot vacuum, they both have a very similar design for that brush. The brush is made out of rubber on both devices, and as I said, it does look quite similar, but because we do have a higher suction power on the eufy S1 Pro, this one will do better for vacuuming compared to the Swichbot S10 here. Next we are talking about the base stations for each robot vacuum, and I guess we are starting with the base station for the eufy S1 Pro. First of all, this is probably one of the smallest base stations that I've seen on any robot vacuum. Most robot vacuums do have much larger base stations, so this one takes way less space than most other robot vacuums that I got to try up until now. At the top we basically have our transparent water tank, so you know exactly how much water you have. At the top there we also have an LCD touchscreen, so you can easily see what the vacuum is doing. You can recall the vacuum to the base station, so it's much easier to see on that little display where the vacuum is, what the vacuum is doing, so you have an idea what's about to happen. With the other vacuum, but we'll talk about this in just a second, you basically don't have any display on the base station, and you don't really know what the vacuum is doing or what's about to do, and so on. And that base station also makes ozone sterilized water, so all the water that will be used to wash the floor is actually sterilized water as well. Now with the Swichbot S10 things are a bit different. So first of all, this one has two base stations, well, kind of two base stations. So we get our main base station where the vacuum stays when it's not in use, where it charges and where it dries that roller mop. Of course, the eufy S1 Pro also dries the mop at the base station. But then we have the second base station that has to be placed somewhere else. Now, Swichbot has done things a bit differently. That base station for the roller mop is actually connected to the water pipes in your home. You still have to clean the dirt from that base station every so often as well, win some, lose some. It may not be for everyone having that water station connected to the water pipes, not to mention that there is more risk for water dripping everywhere and so on. And for most people, I think having a design like the design that we have on the Eufy S1 Pro makes more sense. The vacuum only has one station, it goes there, it washes everything, and then you just empty that dirty water tank every so often. So I guess it depends on the situation. Personally, I do prefer having just one base station versus two base stations. And that brings us to the end of this video and the final conclusion. So the Eufy S1 Pro is the only and best floor washing robot vacuum you'll ever need. There is really no other robot vacuum available on the market that does floor washing as good as this one right here. Not to mention that obstacle avoidance is absolutely brilliant. This is probably one of the few robot vacuums that I can actually trust to go and clean the house when I'm not at home, even if I didn't actually clean the floor, because it will avoid everything. So this still remains my all-time favorite robot vacuum out there, even though I did try about 50-60 robot vacuums up until now. Maybe not that many, but I definitely tried a lot of robot vacuums. As always, there will be some links in the video's description if you wanna check this robot vacuum out here. And from November 21st till December 8th, you can also buy this vacuum with a $500 discount as well. So price of $999.99. So definitely check out the links in the video's description. Thanks Eufy for sponsoring this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.